Hello, everyone. Welcome to another challenge, another creative challenge, challenging you to make some light leaks in Adobe Premiere. I'm Evan Abrams. Welcome to the program. I'm with you for the next half hour, and should be a good time. I'm looking forward to this. This is a simple little thing that you can do to bring some production value, some interesting transitions to your work. So I hope this really helps. Hey there, Steve. Hello, Troy. Hello, Jack. Ooh. Jack taking a break from streaming. Come hang out with us. Jack does excellent streams here on Behance as well. Robert, Katerina, Laura, Dorina, hello. And Marilyn. Great to see so many people coming and hanging out. Checking in from Michigan. Hope everything's good over there. It's quite cold. I'm up in Ottawa, Canada. So a little bit chilly. And Umacorn, hello. All right. So what are we working on today? Light leak transitions. What are we talking about? Well, a light leak is any time that we have light kind of striking the optics of a lens and is creating all these wonderful aberrations. And of course, Cody Bear holding it down, keeping everything on track, our mod for the day. So these light leaks create lovely prismatic kind of auras when they interact with the various optics. So what do we mean by that? Well, let's have a look at the screen. I'm going to show you what we're talking about. It's better to show than tell. And there's the screen button. All right, so we have here some footage of wheat and some footage of feet, and we are going to transition between them with some optical things that are happening in between. There's many ways we could try to present this kind of thing. So, for example, here's a much more ethereal look to it. And then we transition over like that. We could have something that's maybe a little bit more sort of blending between the two. And then we have something here that's a little bit more filmic kind of in between. So basically what we're doing is we're taking a light leak element, placing it above the joining of two layers where they abut each other, transitioning on and off the light leak, and transitioning between the footage. So we're meshing them together. All in, our journey should begin with grabbing a bunch of wonderful footage, and no better place to do that than Adobe Stock. So I've got Adobe Stock over right here. I'm just gonna call it up, and of course, we're all just practicing. Come on over into the free tab, enjoy the wonderful free things that Adobe Stock will provide you. So I'll come over into free video, and I'm just gonna search for light leak, right? Light leaf. Anyway, you can see a whole bunch of examples. This one here is a much more VHS looking vibe. This one has a lot kind of larger, chunkier leaks. This has a lot more bokeh elements. And here we go, very prismatic situation going on here. Definitely check these out. And there are so many different ways, different ideas with how this might look. Some are generated naturally or optically. Some of them are generated digitally. Some of them are very filmic like this one. So check them out. There's lots of options. And of course, just come on down to the bottom of the page here. There's, 37,000 examples in here. We've gone ahead and handpicked a few of them. So if you want to use the files, grab them in the description, and those will do for today. So if you want to follow along and do that. Also, you'll find in the description where you can submit your work. I want to see what you do at the end of this, so make sure you send me those. We got a Discord where you can share those around. I want to see what you got going on. So what are we going to do? We bring in our elements. I've divided them into bins, AB footage, and leaks. So I'm just going to grab our AB footage, select those, and then drag them on down to the new sequence, which will create a new sequence with these two elements right next to each other. Now, one thing you want to be careful of is anytime you're working with clips, have a look right here, right on the edge of them, on the edge of these clips. Let's really zoom in so we can check that out. And you can see, I'll just extend this up a little bit. There's a little triangle on those saying there's no more footage after this point. So what you want to do is trim these a little bit so that they can intersect with each other. So I'm going to chop this a little bit. I'm going to smash it over this like so that if we were to select these and apply to them across dissolve, for example. So if we just go ahead and we grab, where are my window effects? Ooh, they got to be hanging out here. Where have you gone, my wonderful effects bin? Oh, you're hiding over here. So if we come in here, we grab some video transitions, we grab a dissolve, we grab a cross dissolve and apply that over the middle, right? You can see that we have quite a lot of space to cross dissolve between them. A simple cross dissolve, totally nice, right? But if you don't have enough space, you're going to bump into the edges. You're not going to have any room to do any dissolves of any kind. So make sure you've got the runway to do that. So the method, again, we're going to get 2 clips. We're going to abut them together. Then we are going to grab some leaks. Let's grab something from my leaks bin of things. Not the tasty root vegetable, but these prismatic effects coming over the lens. I'm going to grab this one and plop that over top. Now, right away, you can see, oh dear, this leak, right, doesn't even come to the edge of the footage. So I'm just going to double click on it up here, and I'm going to just scale it up a little bit. Give it a little bit of scaling. Nice and abstract. It's all good. Now we need it to blend with what is below it. So we're going to select our light leak. We're going to come over here to the effects controls, twirl down into opacity, and we're going to choose a different blending mode of this element. So the blending mode is how the different pixels interact with each other. So if we were to change this thing, we're going to change this thing down. Like if we were to use something like multiply, you can see with multiply, the dark areas of the footage, right, are remaining, and we can see through the light areas. Right? So that's probably not what we're looking for. In the second sort of bin, you can see a little division here are our more additive modes. So you're going to find things like lighten, you're going to find screen, you're going to find color dodge. Maybe I could interest you in a linear color dodge. Maybe we could, aka add, or perhaps a lighter color. Lighter color doesn't look great. For me, it's got to be either add or screen or color dodge. One of these 3 is where we want to be, right? Reverb Mike, how you doing? So let's go with this one because it really blooms out, right? All of the super bright areas are really getting bright. And what we want to do is transition on and off of this element. So it's as easy. In my case, Command D will apply our default transitions to either end. So it just kind of fades on like this. Now, the different light leak elements that you're going to find out in the wild, right, are probably going to have that sort of black background and not quite the same as add, right? So you just want to make sure that these things are indeed blending and that we are softly coming onto them and then rolling off of them. So probably the default duration of this, if you double click on any little transition wedge, we're going to type in 1.00 for a whole second, something like that. And maybe this other one, let's bring that up to 1 as well. And we'll just kind of pinch in. We're going to pinch in on either side of this edit point here. So it's going to come on and then change like that. Now, I've got to size up this footage a little bit, get the wheat to the right size. So it's going to come on. We're going to transition to this element, and then it's going to go away, right? This is the same as we would do with any kind of alpha covering transition. This is any transition that rests over top or abuts over top of these cuts between footage. But we want these two to mesh together as well. So we might deploy something like a cross dissolve, say. So I'll just apply the cross dissolve onto this, and let's go ahead and make this, I don't know, good 2 seconds long. So we've got one element coming on, and then we're fading into the other one, and then our light leaks are transitioning away. That looks okay. It is creating this kind of dreamy halfway point between these two elements. But I would say that that's probably not the best version. If we want to see this thing to seem like it's being totally washed out with light, we want to come down to the dip to white transition. Now we're just going to deploy this dip to white over top. I'll put it on here. Let's make it, again, nice 2 seconds long, so that this is kind of prismatically blowing out the scene, and then we are blowing it out even further with the dip to white. So that's going to give us This kind of idea that we're totally washing the sensor with light. Maybe someone's, for some reason, taking the lens off of the camera. But you can see, hopefully here, how changing, I'll just kind of extend this a little bit so we can enjoy it a little bit more, how changing our particular blending modes is going to give us just a slightly different look, allowing in more color, less color. Ooh, I love the way these things are really prismatically blooming right there. That's working out. So we want to be a little bit choosy with that. Now, this is the idea of light leaks are coming on and things are getting too bright and it's maxing out the brightness and then we're coming back in another shot. Now, instead, we might say, well, what if we don't want to go light? We want to go dark with this. What would that look like? Well, let's go ahead and I will grab these elements and we will duplicate them on down the road here. Select everybody, holding down Option in my case, dragging them on down the road. And instead of these types of transitions, what if we dip to black instead? So we're going to add a little dip to black transition on here. Let's zoom in on the timeline so we can really appreciate what we're looking at. So instead, it's going to go dark and then back up. So we want something nice and bright that can go over top of that. Well, how about this one? We got light on lens type of thing here. Double click on that and scale it up like so. So again, we want to go into its opacity, its blending mode in the effects controls. Let's switch that up. Bring that on like so. We're going to see, so in the kind of in-between state, the only thing that's going to be left is whatever that light leak is, because if we're dipping this to black and what's above it is set to add or lighten, only those light pixels are going to be coming through. And so it's basically like returning to whatever the light streak is. So we will then get the two edges of this transitioning on and off. We've got something like this, like it's heating up, film's heating up, and then we're transitioning over. So depending on what you want this to feel like, right, how we deal with this edit point is pretty critical. Now, we've got another one in here that's a bit more, say, filmic, right? We have this kind of film, more chaos type thing. It's like the end of the film strip is running through, or maybe we've patched two pieces of film together with some kind of garbage film that has to go in between. Something terrible is happening to the film in this period, right? So is this particularly realistic to how film works? I don't know. Tough to say. Never grew up with film myself. It was VHS by the time I was editing. And again, we are going to take our two elements, right? We're going to abut them underneath this. And if this is indeed film, right, if this needs to behave like film, what we want it to do is appear to slide or move, not dissolve, right? These two things would not dissolve into each other if this was a transition of film, one piece of film to another. So if we want to maintain this kind of illusion with our light leaks, if we want to use light leaks in a filmic context, I keep saying filmic. I hope that word is correct. Let me know in the chat if it isn't. And I'm going to change my blending mode here. Let's bring that to add like this. So it's bringing that chaos over top, kind of like that. And this bridge in between, we're not going to use a dissolve. All right. We are going to use perhaps a slide of some form. Now, a slide, maybe something like a push. We can bring that down on top here. We'll just apply that in the middle. We're going to zoom in here so we can really get into the details. All right. Now, slide is actually going to push. Let's turn this top layer off so you can see what's happening. In this case, we've chosen the push, and so you can see that it's actually pushing the footage over. So let's go ahead and give this a little bit more time so you can really see what's happening, that the one footage is actually pushing or replacing the other. And the direction that we would want that to go is not left to right. That doesn't make any sense. If the film is rolling vertically and the footage is moving horizontally, that's strange. So if you go into any transition, you're going to find the various controls specific to that transition here in the effects controls space. I'm not sure if everybody plays around with this type of thing, but if you look up here in the top corner, if you look up here in the very top corner, you're going to see a little A and a B, and in this case, 4 little arrows around this particular box. And this is the direction that the push is coming from. So you can actually change top, down, left, right, any which way you like. Well, these 4 which ways that you like. And so as you can see, this is now sliding up in that way. So this is having that nice slide up like that. We might accelerate this. So we make this only take 5 frames to go through. So it's really quickly going up like that. Or perhaps the push is not to your liking, right? But before we leave push, I just want to say we can give it a little bit of a border, right? We can add a little bit of a border in here. And let's see, let's really crank that up so you can see it. And so if we were trying to mimic film, you probably want to give it a little bit of a border space like that. You know what, for demonstration purposes, let's make this go for 8 frames. But this is going to help to sell the filmic kind of quality to this, that as we have this kind of chaos going on, and then things are moving, sliding up like that. Nice big click up like that. Now, there are other things in this category that you might explore as well. If push doesn't feel quite right to you, let's remove that and let's bring in the slide instead. So if we bring on the slide type transition, notice that the slide has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different options for us. So you can have it slide up from the corner, you can have it slide up from the bottom. So depending on push or slide, you might want to go with one of these two. So again, we'll have this come up from the bottom. The big difference between the two, slide is sliding the new footage up over top, whereas push is actually pushing the other footage away. So that is maybe the more realistic to how film would operate. A third option you might want to consider here is the whip. So if we bring the whip out onto here, it gets nice and streaky like this. The only problem with something like the whip, the whip band, is that we don't have any of those options, right? As you see, we kind of look into those options and they're not there. So this is only going to be a horizontal movement, right? That's going to happen. So we're limited with that, but hopefully that's going to be useful. So of these 3, I'm going to say push. Push is the one that I want. I deploy the push onto here. And again, selecting the actual transition, making it happen from the bottom. Let's have it go all of 6, perhaps, 6 frames for this. And let's really increase, give it like a 30 point border on here. And if we just have a peruse, we are going to, again, Command D to bring on these kind of film-based light leaks. They're going to come on, and then these things will move through like that. Now, probably saying to yourself, Evan, it doesn't seem like the footage is breaking in any reasonable way. Well, you know, why is it? We need more, right? Because if the film is going crazy in the projector, we need more chaos happening to these objects, right? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this and I'm going to grab an effect. The video effect I'm looking for is called the offset. So I'm going to bring that offset down onto here like so. And the offset will allow us to shift the center of this clip. And so as I dial this, you can see I can shift it to the side. The whole thing is sliding on by. And let's not look at this top layer here. Let's remove that while we get this thing sliding around. So I can slide it like this. So if I wanted to keyframe a little bit of a filmic move to this, I'm going to go ahead and say Shift Center. And then I'm going to dial ahead. I'm going to move ahead to sort of when this transition is happening. We're mid-transition, right? With this clip selected. And let's just go ahead and really shift that center up. So it's really going through like that. So let's play back and we'll see. And then it goes. Okay. I'm going to select this first keyframe, right click on it, temporal interpretation, and we are going to ease out from that. Now, There's a lot of talk about time in the chat. This is a way that we can ease into, we're easing this quality here so that it's going slowly and then it starts to go faster, 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 and then the transition happens. So what you may want to do is actually pull this little handle here, get a little bit more in charge of the time, and we'll get that moving. And we'll just deploy a similar thing on the other side. So we'll bring the offset down onto this clip. We are going to shift the center with a keyframe. I'll drag that forward. And let's see, we need to bring this sort of up, 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 like that. Right click on this keyframe, temporal interpretation, easing into it. Let's twirl down into the graph editor, get a little bit deeper into that. That way we can pull this handle like so. So we're really easing into the end of that transition. And so we're getting that type of a movement, something like this, something like that. And now let's put that chaos back over top to hide some of our crimes here. Like that. So that's another way that we can enjoy some light leaks coming through here. So just to kind of recap where we've been, what we've been doing here, the process is to produce light leak transitions as we do with any, that's how they make those black and white films so fast. So as we do with any alpha transition, what we want to do is apply a clip over top of anywhere that the footage butts together, right? So you've got two clips, they abut each other. We want to place over top of them like a Band-Aid. Think of it like a Band-Aid going over the top. And then we will be altering about that particular thing that's going over top, right? And we want to go into its opacity in the effects controls, and we want to choose a different way for it to interact with the footage below. So if this were simply set to normal, as is the default, it looks like this. If you go ahead and use some of the additive modes, so your screens, your lightens, your color dodges, we're able to see through the black pixels, right? The way this is blending over top is adding the light to each other. Because black pixels have a value of 0 luminance when they are added, it's like 0 plus, anything is the other number. So that's not important. What is important is set this to an additive mode. You might experiment around, go crazy with things like overlay. Let's get really experimental with things like vivid light. I mean, it's totally up to you. Play around with these. But to produce this look, we were using linear dodge, add adjacent to get this going. Then we need to do something about how the two clips below interface with each other. Now, we explored the dip to white, which is this one. So if you dip to white with that, we explored the dip to black choice. Now, if you dip to black under something that is additive, then you're really only going to see whatever that clip above is, right? Because this plus this, right? Black plus black equals, wouldn't you know it, still black. And so that might be a way, if you want to have that kind of a transition between things. You might also just use a standard dissolve, which still produces that kind of dreamy quality. And then it's like you're intermixing 3 different footages over top of each other. Totally good, an excellent idea. And then we looked at a much more film-focused way. So if you've got a light leak that is film coming off of the rails, then we're going to deploy that over top. And then in the middle, we are using not a dissolve, but instead a slide. So things like push, slide, or whip will get us what we want. And in particular, coming into our transition, coming into our little transition here, and coming up to the top and making sure that we are adjusting whether it goes north to south, south to north, etc., like that. So getting really into the fine details. So hopefully this is going to be helpful. I hope this is going to help you kind of cut footage together, make these dreamy type of transitions. And if you do, or when you do, I want to see them. I want to see what you're doing. So if you could share your work with me, I'd love to see it. So that's when I want you to come on over to Discord, come and enjoy the things going over there on Discord, bit.ly/PR Discord, and share your work with me so I can have a look at it. We're going to be reviewing all of the work that comes in over the next couple of weeks, not this Friday, but the Friday after. So I want to see a lot of stuff in there so we can have a look at all the creative things you're doing with these techniques. But of course, I'm going to be back tomorrow. So I'll see you in the Discord, but I'll see you tomorrow where we're going to be exploring even more things in Premiere to do. So hopefully I'm going to see you back here for that. What else is there to say? We've got a rich full day of things going on here on Adobe Live. More tutorials, more content, more excellent techniques to expand your creativity. So stick with us. And I hope that I see you tomorrow. I hope I see you in the Discord. Make sure you subscribe to Adobe Live in all the places, whether you're watching this on YouTube, you're watching this on Behance, maybe you're watching this on LinkedIn. I don't know if we're streaming on there, but maybe we could be. Wherever you're seeing me, make sure you hit a subscribe button wherever it is so that you see more of what we're doing. That'll do it for me. Again, I'm Evan Abrams. Thanks for hanging out. Be kind to each other. Stay creative. And I will transition on out of here. All right. Bye for now. I'll see you around the internet. This is the one.